Today I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready so I can actually record another video. But I'm going to spray. I'm going to spray. I'm going to get ready. I'm going to preach a little bit on my YouTube live. Get ready and do my makeup and talk to you guys about how to master reading and writing. So, let's get into this. How to master reading and writing. It's as simple as making a goal and being very specific when you make your goal, because the first thing you're setting yourself up if you're not specific with your goal. Now what I mean is, if I say, obviously read more to develop that skill, which is obviously a no-brainer, it would be my goal. It can be small and don't even feel like it needs to be big. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there. It really doesn't. As long as you get there. If you need to read 5 pages a day in order to finish this book by the end of the year, because that's your goal, compared to if someone is reading, I don't know, an hour a day, doesn't matter how long it takes you to get to your goal. Just get to your damn goal. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like is very a big thing now, is you want to be fast, you want to be fast, you want to be fast. You know what I mean? Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't want to just blow up overnight? Everyone does. But it's a process. It's all a process, Some of us are luckier than others, and some of us aren't, simply. So don't get discouraged, baby, just because you're not as lucky. You don't know what's on the other side. So yes, other than getting specific with, I'm going to read 5 pages a day. I'm going to read 5 minutes a day. Get very, very specific with your goal, obviously, As for writing, there's a couple of books I can recommend. I recommend dumping all your ideas on a page, writing all your affirmations first thing you wake up. It's very magical when it's like either really late at night for me, or 3 a.m. or something, 12, but 3 a.m., it's very magical to be writing, doing your craft, in my opinion. So yes, another thing I feel for this generation is you need to learn how to read in cursive. Now, it was a little disturbing to me when I seen some video and some guy was telling a group of these asking different people that just came out the club, or I don't know if they came out the club, or they came out of summer, right? Because it was a busy event, whatever, I don't know. And he said, read this word. And I literally was like, and I'm not trying to brag none, but I was like, that's what it says in cursive. That's what, like, I was right, because I know how to read cursive, you know what I mean? Because I was taught that in 5th grade, cursive, from like 2nd grade to 5th grade-ish is where we were really on that. And I remember them, saying, I don't even know what that says, what that means. And I was like, girl, like, what? And number one fact, baby, Declaration of Independence, what is it in? Cursive. A lot of our generation, I'm guilty of it too, because I've I'm not perfect. Obviously, I had to learn someday, right? Which is when I took my education serious. A lot of our generation, we don't know our amendments. We don't know the Declaration of Independence. What else? Amendments. And there's another one. Oh my God, there's a couple. A lot of people don't know the difference between the judicial, Congress, court system, the 3, you know what I mean? And very disturbing. Hey, how are you guys? So in order to really upgrade, yourself and master it. Hello, hello, hey, how are you? Learn cursive, because important documents that are a part of history are in cursive. That is a fact, okay? That is how you can master that as well. Learning a new skill, you know what I mean? That literally grows new brain cells, you know what I mean? So, oh, hey guys. Oh, why is everything? So, yes, master that. Master the cursive, because I noticed that they don't teach us that in school these days. They don't teach our youngins that in school these days. You know what I mean? So that's definitely what I feel like that's our mission, is to educate the youth, right? The next thing, you need to understand that the importance of mastering this craft, right? You have to understand, let me give you an example. Mark Twain. He was a slave, an African slave, and not too long ago. It's a when was I don't know. I'm getting brain fart. I don't know if it was 1900s, 1700s, but he was a slave, right? And slaves were not allowed to read or write. Black and brown people, even white poor people back then, it don't even discriminate. If you're lower class, they didn't want you being educated. They didn't want you having this new way of thinking. You know what I mean? The new generations that come, you've noticed that they've evolved. You know what I mean? The generations have evolved. Now they're trying to go back with that racism, but we've all evolved as a society. We're all beyond that. We've all, some aren't, because it's still there, and we have definitely a lot of generations to go before there's no racism. But there'll be those jokes, whatever. Anyways, I'm not trying to get off topic. So yes, educate yourself, because it's dangerous. It's an educated mind is dangerous. That's the first thing you need to do. One good book could change your life, and that's a fact as well. One good book. A couple of good books that I have. Angela Davis book. I know where it's at. I had just picked up some new books today. Always get these books. I know you guys heard recently about the government buying books, old books, and they've been destroying them. And if you haven't heard, look it up, girl. Come on, you guys. Me too. Me too, though. I'm getting on me too. Not even just you guys. I'm really getting on me too. Like, because I'm like, come on, Amandies. Let's go. Let's get this, continue to educate, but I'm just here to spread the word, right? So that's how you also master it, is getting very specific with your goals. I'm going to read 5 pages a day. It doesn't matter how little, it doesn't matter how big. Okay? Learning cursive, learning how to and let me tell you this experience that I had. I take classes at college, freshman classes, senior classes. So I'm with younger, older people. It doesn't matter, because college is a lot of people's age, But there's like freshman courses where it's like majority freshmen. And I was in this one class, and the teacher said to us, she said, this is the first time I have ever, because she asked us all to write an essay, but I didn't turn it in. I didn't. Don't get on me about my procrastination, but I didn't turn it in. So she was technically wasn't talking to me, but I understood the message. I was there to witness it, to spread right now, right? Anyways, she literally said, everyone that wrote an essay, like, she wasn't trying to make us feel bad. So I'm just gonna put me with us, right? Even though it was not my essay, trust me. She was saying everyone in this room could not articulate their ideas. Everything was everywhere. You guys need to go see the writing center. And when she would tell us if we had essays, I noticed the whole classroom be like, oh no, fuck, oh, like. And she told us she said in her whole years of teaching, she has never seen a generation that cannot write properly. And you know what? I'm in that category as well sometimes, because but you can also develop. You don't need to stay stuck there, and that's what a growth mindset is. A growth mindset is you can be bad at something, but you keep telling yourself, yes, I'm gonna be bad, and I'm gonna keep doing it, keep repeating it, keep failing, keep going, keep going, keep going, and eventually I'll master it. And that's what mastering any skill is failing numerous times, failing over and over and over again, and getting back up. Literally, that's literally what it is. And making a fool out of yourself. And you know what, i feel like I feel like a lot of people, especially if you're in the public eye, you're gonna be scared to make mistakes, right? I feel like a lot of people are very scared to make mistakes these days. But you know what, and you get made fun of a lot because of that. But you know what, you have to understand that you can change, and that we don't need to be in the same place as last year. You know what I mean? And that's a fact. So let me see. Another way to master your reading and writing is putting down that phone. Everyone knows that though. Putting down that phone. You know what I mean? You have to kind of like really set a routine and add it in there. And that's one of the things I'm adding to my list this year is reading, because you got to keep reading and reading and reading. I wanted to recommend this book to you guys. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to see if I have it. I don't. But another thing I wanted to mention is understand the history of reading and writing. That'll make you, if you read about it, it'll make you feel more grateful and more like, oh, I want to. It'll put that fire underneath your butt, I feel, in my case. And I it takes a lot to motivate me. You know what I mean? But if you hear from somebody, read it on somewhere, look it up, whatever you need to do, ask your mama, ask your papa. The place where you can get information, the most accurate information, the most sacred information, is from your family, from your elders. So that's another thing. Elders, elders, elders. Write down the recipes. Write down your traditions. That's our duties. That's our duties this generation. But also, what I wanted to tell you is, you know, I also think it's okay if our generation is not is illiterate. Okay, can't read, can't write. It's okay, because you want to know why. Let me tell you why. Because in history, people have been illiterate, uneducated. For a specific example, in Mexico. You know what I mean? It was a privilege to be educated. It was a privilege. It was mostly men that would go to school as well. You know, and it was a privilege to go to school, right? So if you understand that, you're kind of like, huh, I didn't know that. I mean, still to today, in uh, what countries, and I can say Palestine easily. They're getting bombed. You know what I mean? They're trying to educate themselves. Yeah, and let's be honest about that. Okay, that is still today. We still deal with it. Um, so if you understand that as well, humble yourself. I know you don't want to be humble. You don't want to sit down, la da da da. But you know what? For real, take a moment and be like, I'm grateful to even have this experience, because it was forbidden, baby. It was forbidden for you to learn. It was forbidden for the women to go out and learn and not do their other duties. Okay, and when you learn that, you appreciate it more. But back to what I was saying is, there's been, in history, generations that are uneducated, cannot read, right? So they communicated through art. That's how they got their message around, was through art. So there's not no hope. We can still communicate to each other in different, ways and forms. But I think it's very important. I feel like that's why a lot of people are not organized, you know, as well, as much as they should be, you know, right now. But I mean, understand, to master a skill, you have to fail. If you want to master your reading, if you want to master your writing, it has to be in routine, and it's okay to take breaks. I'm not saying you can't take breaks, but you got to have it in routine. And I feel like really just if you wake up first thing or right before you go to bed, whatever you need to do, read. Write your affirmations. And I didn't even do any of my makeup.